Good morning. Welcome to yet another edition of Focus on Parliament on Civic Space TV. Today, the 18th of November 2023, I am Philip Muliisa. Today, the focus is mainly on the continued boycott of plenary by opposition members of Parliament. It is not a new phenomenon. We saw opposition members of Parliament boycotting plenary when their leader, Robert Kyagulanyi, was arrested towards the 2021 general elections. We saw them boycott plenary when they were demanding the release of Honorable Muhammad Segirinya and his counterpart, Sewanyana of Makindye West. And today, they put other issues on the table. They say we want government, number one, to give accountability of our missing members. They claim many Ugandans are missing, and these are members of their political party. They say many Ugandans are dead and government has not accounted, but also they cite issues of continued arbitrary arrests of members of the opposition in this country. And according to the leader of opposition, he claims they will not return to Parliament until government gives proper accountability. We want to understand, what does this mean for the politics of this country? Where does it take Parliament? And what impact does it create on the political scene of this country? Now, to help us unpack and understand that is a panel of distinguished gentlemen who I will introduce in no particular order. From the extreme left is Mr. Apollo Tusiime. He is a member of Uganda Parliamentary Press Association, the Secretary General.
Yeah.
Mr. Tusiime, you're most welcome to the show.
Thank you, and it's always a pleasure to be on Civic Space and to interact with our viewers out there. It's so special today that I'm now having on my side a distinguished academician, one of the people I really respect. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Yes, thank you so much. And in between us is Professor Muliisa Ndebesa. He's a political analyst and a professor of history from Makerere University. Professor, you're most welcome to the show.
Thank you, and good morning, viewers of Civic Space. And you are welcome to listen to these views, and we share. We have no monopoly of views. We are only provoking you to look at these views, and then you see how to interact with us in such a civic space.
Yes, thank you so much, Professor. Mr. Tusiime, being a journalist who operates around Parliament, I want you to take us to Parliament and create for us an image of how Parliament looks like today, in the last 1 month, when we don't have opposition members of Parliament there, activities going on. How does it look like? Take us there.
Well, Parliament is, I can say it's not, the environment is not normal. Of course, from the composition of Parliament, there has to be the opposition in Parliament. There has to be the side of the ruling party in government on the other side, and there should be the independents. So those are the three groups that are expected to be in Parliament. But as we speak, it is coming to more than a month without the opposition in Parliament. Well, there was a time when they were in recess. Possibly that was a time when we could not see these things happening. But indeed, without the opposition in Parliament, you can feel it. Even in their deliberations, you can feel that there is something missing. We know that how our Parliament works. The business comes from the side of government. Then it is tabled in Parliament. It is deliberated on together from both sides. But we have through experience witnessed that usually when business comes from government, from the composition of Parliament, you have to have the opposition on one side, you have to have the ruling party on their side, and the independents. probably in the middle, in the front of the speaker's chair. And without the opposition, you can be sure that the deliberations and the debate will be affected in one way or another. And from experience, since business in the House comes from government, usually when government brings, for instance, a bill or they table a motion, there is no much resistance from the ruling party side. It is always from the opposition side. Not resistance per se, but most of the
maybe we can call it scrutiny.
Yes, scrutiny and interjections mainly come from the opposition side. So you may say without the opposition, it is usually a one-horse race. It's easy for government to take business through. For instance, they recently passed the Petroleum Supply Amendment Bill of 2023. It is one of those bills that went through Parliament very fast. I think it didn't take more than 1.5 weeks to be ready for the first, second, and third reading. So
And would you attribute that quick happening to the absence of opposition members?
Exactly, because whenever there is scrutiny, there are those dissenting voices. It prompts debate. And then that debate possibly prolongs the discussions and the process of the bill to go through Parliament.
At that very point, there is always we have voices that say members of Parliament never attend sittings. They are never there. We might be saying opposition members are boycotting when they usually do not attend. Are they always in Parliament?
No, not only the 11th Parliament, but even from the 9th, the 10th, there has been that practice, that bad behavior of absenteeism in Parliament. Not only the front bench, actually that has been worse, but even the members of Parliament themselves. That is why they even introduced the digital check-in to ensure that the members always, the record is taken every time the members attend the plenary sittings. So it's not happening now. It has been happening, but we are talking about it this time because possibly there is.
It has an official position.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
An official position has been communicated.
Thank you so much, Mr. Apollo. I want to engage Professor Ndebesa here. Members of Parliament from the opposition are not in the House. What does this mean for debate in Parliament, for the people who sent them there, and for Uganda as a whole?
Thank you. I do not actually, from the surface, it looks as if boycott is negative. But I wouldn't want to look at it that way. Although, of course, we would want them to be there and share views and alternative policy ideas to the nation and to Parliament. But I think boycott is a political statement. And in this case, this particular case, the political statement is about political prisoners. And I think we are now living in a post-revolutionary NRM. And you cannot say that we shall only have the political future or the policy future of Uganda defined by only one group. I think it is time now the political future is defined by alternative viewpoints. And we expect that the opposition brings alternative viewpoints. We don't know whether they are doing it, but that is what is expected. And therefore, the boycott is a statement to the effect that we need space. That's one. But two, it is about the issue of political prisoners. And I think one of the indices or indicators of political immaturity of a state is having political prisoners. I think if you go to mature democracies like Europe, America, USA, that is Canada, Australia, Japan, New Zealand, you will hardly find there a phenomenon of political prisoners. So we have had political prisoners in Uganda, and the boycott is one of the activities of Parliament to voice the concern that we need to mature or we need to evolve a political democracy where we don't have political prisoners. So the boycott should be looked at from that perspective, not merely that the absence of members of parliament. And I think there is now attention to the issue of political prisoners. Why do we have political prisoners in Uganda in the 21st century? I think we need to have an alternative space for alternative viewpoints to define the future of Uganda. Recently, there were some people suspected to have got involved in terrorist activities or the killings, and they have been produced in courts in record time, relatively. Why would somebody who has put in a red cape be not produced for 3 years? And yet the other one was produced in 1 week. So I think these are political statements. If those people who are claimed to have disappeared or are detained without trial, or their trial is delaying, are indeed there, something must be done. If they are not there, and maybe they died, or they disappeared, we have got an omnipresent security forces in Uganda. Why can't they find out where these people who are alleged to have disappeared are, or clear the air? And so the boycott is a political statement. It's not enough to continue in the participating in the legislative chamber, legislating about acts of parliament, without looking at the other side of the role of parliament. Parliament does not exist only to pass laws. Parliament also exists to hold the state accountable. And this boycott is an accountability statement.
You see, Professor, the Prime Minister came to Parliament and said government is aware of the challenge and they're investigating the matter. Don't you think these MPs are being too harsh to the state?
Investigations have been going on. I have not been following actually in the last like 10 days as such, but before that I was actively listening, and I remember the Minister of Internal Affairs, David Muhozi, had said, I have nothing useful to present. I have finished. You see, on that matter of these detainees or suspected detainees. And so what did you expect the other people to say? If the minister says, I have nothing useful to add on, and yet the people continue to be detained. I remember even the families of those detainees, one time were challenged by the chairperson of the Human Rights Commission that they have never come up, and they went there. Actually, she pushed them off and said, you go to Machinde somewhere and report there. But you challenged them and they have come. Why don't you say, let me listen to you, and then formally you go to Machinde? So the issue is that this question of detainees is still a very important issue, and I think highlighting it, shedding light on it through any other means is very important, because we are forging a new state, a new country. Uganda is not yet a nation state, and I've already said this one, and we need concerted efforts, but we also need to be sensitive. We need to be sensitive to the concerns of Ugandans and or sections of Ugandans, so that we address issues as we build a nation, but not just continue dismissing issues, saying these are political gimmicks, this is just dancing and to the political gallery, this is posturing. There are concerns, and these are human concerns, and these are political concerns The issue of political detainees is very important. The issue of defining the future for the country is very, very, very important. You see, let me give a historical background, a long historical background of instability and political violence in Uganda. We begin with, for example, the people who were martyred at Namugongo. I mean, the Kabaka could not listen to alternative viewpoints. By that time, you have to appreciate the political situation of the day. The British had also detained or later detained people in Seychelles Islands, Kabarega and Umanga, because they didn't listen to any alternatives. That was the British. During the colonial period, whoever came up with alternative viewpoints of defining the future of Uganda during the decolonization period, independence period, they were detained. They say this father of politics in Uganda, Musazi, was detained I don't know how many times. He was a prison graduate. And then Obote, you remember, Obote won. He detained very many people, including Chiwanuka, the leader of opposition, and things like that. Idi Amin, for him, he didn't even have the luxury of detention. He would just kill them. And that legacy continued with us in Obote too. Now, NRM. No, I think since NRM came for a fundamental change, let's have a change from these political detainees. And let's be clear about it. Let's discuss it. Let's define the future together for Uganda. Otherwise, the monopoly of defining the future for Uganda is not feasible, is not sustainable, and we have to build a nation state.
Thank you, Professor. And I want to come back to you, Mr. Tusiime. Professor here mentions about a monopoly of individuals trying to forge a future for Uganda. And that is one lane, the NRM. The option we have is legislators on the opposite side being in Parliament. And they are out. How about they stayed and rose their case better in Parliament? Don't you think that was a better option?
It's a decision that was made by the leadership of the opposition, which I think we should all respect, that it is their decision. And walking out or a boycott in Parliament, it's one way to demonstrate their displeasure of course, things that are not going on right. Like Professor said, there is no way you can convince a person who lost his or her relative for 3 years and they do not know their whereabouts. There is no way you can console a mother for his child or his son or daughter who mysteriously, is missing and for 3 years. So you see that there is a reason. They have a reason as to why they walked out, and it is a genuine reason. But maybe what I wanted to remind the professor is to also accept and admit that also there is politics everywhere. He alluded to the narrative that possibly they are posturing, they are playing their politics, but also we don't need to ignore that, of course, even if there is politics, politicians will always exploit an opportunity where they think they can. But if there is a genuine cause like it is of human rights violations, people who are being killed, extrajudicial killings, then they are right to do what they are doing. So I think there is no way we can accuse anybody or anyone for walking out, especially on such an important matter.
Yes, thank you. Professor, this country faces a couple of challenges. It is not just abductions, it is not just missing persons. You have land grabbing, you have corruption. Recently, you have a crisis of the Balalo in northern Uganda. Do you think as Parliament of Uganda, the best we can have from opposition members of parliament is always thinking in boycotting discussion about the matters affecting this country. Is that the best way to send that message?
Thank you. Of course, the Uganda is a post-colonial state. Like all post-colonial states, they have got a host of challenges of nation building, of state building, of democracy building. Yes, the opposition, members of parliament, should also make a contribution to state building in Uganda. And you are saying, couldn't they remain and maybe make a better contribution when they are inside? Yes, that is also there, but also boycott. The members of parliament can use different methods to amplify the voice and concerns of the citizens. In this case, we are talking about the concerns of a very big issue of nation building and state building and democracy building, which is political detainees. As I earlier on pointed out, we have seen other people involved in criminal violence, not even political violence as such, being produced in court in record time. But we have political detainees. And therefore, it appears that there is a phenomenon of political detainees continuing in Uganda, and we need to reduce it. We know we are an evolving state, an evolving country, that sometimes we may not avoid this one, but at the same time, we must not take it for granted that we shall continue with this phenomenon of political detainees in this country, because it divides the people, it divides the country, it undermines development, political development, it undermines democracy, and therefore something must be done about it. Continuing in parliament, raising points of order, points of information, points of this and that, will not take us very far. We need a break. And I thought that remaining in parliament and continuing to receive the reception that they have been receiving may not take this country a step ahead. The government needs to become clear about where these alleged disappeared people are. As I pointed out, we have got an omnipresent and whatever security forces, they should find out where these people are, one way or the other, so that we move the country forward and not stagnate and mark time on the issue of, hey, disappeared people, they are not there, we have them, we don't have them, we do this and that. No. We cannot continue in this debate like we are just Hard's boys. You have done this, you have not done it, you have done this, I have not done it. I think let's look at the positive aspect of this boycott and then let the government address it. Like I have heard that the security people are all out. I don't believe this one. For example, the whole Ministry of Internal Affairs has got 3 generals. The Minister of Internal Affairs is a general. The Minister of State is a general. The Permanent Secretary is a general. There is a general in Ministry of Security. There is also the Defense Ministry. There is a Police Ministry. I mean, you cannot say there is nobody to give just a report so that it is debated. And we get off this issue of political detainees in Uganda. I think the boycott has highlighted the whole issue of political detainees, which is a phenomenon of emerging democracies, of immature democracies, and as I pointed out earlier on, the indicator of maturity in the democratic processes is absence of political detainees. But we continuing to have political detainees does undermine national consensus, national unity, and every time people are angry, people are, and then the others are mocking them and dismissing them and saying this is mere posturing. I think is not politically sustainable. It has not been politically sustainable in the past. I remember Milton Obote in the 80s, and his UPC government used to dismiss DP like that one also. Say, you are posturing, where are these people? We shall continue, even if you go back to the bush, and we shall remain, you remain there. But what happened thereafter? So let's be serious. Let politicians be serious about the issues of human rights, the issues of political detainees, and we move this country forward.
Thank you, Professor. We've been joined by Honorable Christine Kaaya. She's the woman member of Parliament, Kiboga District. Honorable, you're most welcome.
Thank you so much for hosting us here. I also welcome Professor. Once again, I am the Minister for Water and Environment in the Alternative Government, and I also chair the Parliamentarians Land Management Forum. And I take this opportunity to greet all Ugandans, especially the people of Kiboga who entrusted me into this post. But I also join fellow Ugandans who feel that it is the appropriate time for us to mind about human rights. And I join you in condoning. I will not call it a commemoration of 3 years, because they have not really been nice years as far as human rights are concerned. But we are, by the date of tomorrow, 18th November 2023, we shall be counting on 3 years since the detainment, the torture, and everything started. And all those actions are related to being opposite Mr. Museveni. The moment you are not for him, then you are bound to suffer in some way. And we have seen detained prisoners, but nobody, apart from those who have been released, those whom we ask that what exactly happened in the prison, those are people who managed to tell us that, they always asked us, why do you support Honorable Kyagulanyi Ssentamu? Why? And you could see that the following punishments to somebody detained are in response to him or her supporting this one. But the issues they tell us are different. I hear there are also some detainees who were attached to vandalism of electric materials. So we have not had anybody, detained for reasons of, I support this one. But that is the actual crime that is used to torture these people. So tomorrow we are making 3 years, but we are calling on all religions. Today we have been with the Muslim community during their Juma prayers to pray for those detained, for those tortured, for those missing. And then we also request for the rest of the denominations. The denomination for Saturday, Adventist Church and Adventists, please remember to pray for these people, the prisoners, and also other types of Christians who go to church on Sunday, to also remember these people. It has not been smooth with us, but until it happens to you, some people say, why are you doing that? Did we send you to do that? Yes, we are also charged with the responsibility of ensuring that the working environment is conducive for you, who thinks that your business must continue without any encumbrances. Because time will come when you think that the working environment for your shop is okay, and time will come when you'll not be able to do it. When you want, for example, to raise issues that deter you from accessing enough profit from your business, we are fighting that space remains. And I want to remind members that as members of Parliament, viewers, that as members of Parliament at the same time, we keep on requesting for actions taken by some of these ministers when we raise them on the floor of Parliament. But if you manage to look at the order paper, for example, the action taken report, we want responses from ministers on what we have requested them to respond to. It has taken a full year. They do just like this, like the other. And now, it is not only happening to the human rights report we are waiting for, but also on other actions. I think even other livelihood options that we feel affect Ugandans, I think we are thinking of taking the same actions of not entering parliament, especially issues to do with agriculture, issues to do with a disaster management in a country, issues to do with the safety of people. Now the issue of Balalo is not part of our points that among the human rights, because by the time they escalated, we had already prioritized some 6 points that are making us get out. But the issue of Balalo is becoming serious all parts of the country. I don't know why. When it comes to somebody like me, Kaaya-Kiboga, I am in Uganda. I come from Bukomero Town Council, Kiboga, and my burial places. You know, I am comfortable saying I come from here. Now, when it comes to Balalo, for them, they must, you know, the whole Uganda is ours, you know, the whole country is ours. You are not bound to ask for people's historical background, for ancestral areas. Why is it that when it comes to Balalo, they have nowhere they're coming from? They are going everywhere. And now, me, I'm an environmentalist. When I look at the issues of climate change and how they affected people, what is happening yesterday and the other day in Bukomero, all the grazing areas are flooded right now. A place called Dwaniro is a sub-county in Kiboga district, and it is entirely cattle grazing area. It is flooded. So what they've done is to release all their cattle to the crop growing areas, because somehow the crop growing areas are on raised places. And so they have just fled without minding about anything. And they have even put serious warnings. Should you harm any animal? Should you? By the way, harming animals in our place is serious. They say that if you have, for example, cut a cow, then it means that you have, if it was the owner of the cow, then you would have cut that person. So it is bad omen. So even when you see 1,000 cows, you are not supposed to harm any animal. And so you are supposed to see them demolish your maize, your soybean. Over many acres have been demolished. But that was not part of the human rights issues that took us out. I would like to list them for you to listen to why really we went out. We are protesting the issue of missing persons. We have a number of people. So far we have 18 people whom we have never heard of where they are. We don't know where their whereabouts are. We demand that...
That is since when?
Since 18th November 2020. Because tomorrow, we are counting on 3 years since it started. So there are people who got lost on 18th November 2020, and up to date, we don't know whether they are dead. We don't know their whereabouts.
See, Honorable, on that exact point, the Minister of Internal Affairs, General Muhoozi David, said government is investigating. Uganda Human Rights Commission said they're investigating, and actually they gave out a report that has some of these names. Don't you, as legislators, need to give them time?
Which time? 3 years is little time? 3 years for you to miss your kid? You don't know what happened. That is little time? That is what bothers us. Because now, if you don't mind about such a thing, then what do you mind about? We feel life is above all needs that human beings have, or want, or need. We feel that missing a person, that is life. That should be priority number one. And if we have really waited for 3 years, 3 years, just imagine you have lost a kid and you don't know where that kid is for 3 years. What are they investigating at? For example, we have started compiling videos and small videos to show how these people were captured. Most of them were captured in state-owned vehicles. And we feel that the vehicles are directed by some office. So they can trace on such and such.
Which office could that be?
No, they are very. We don't know the offices, but for us, those vehicles, the drones we see, are state-owned vehicles, and people who operate them are, in most cases, dressed in the anti-riot police. So we feel that where they are taking them is as a result of directives by some people. So how can we fail to trace that when you came to pick Chibalama from here, then that vehicle that day went here? How can you fail to trace at least 4 of the security personnel that were accompanying
Maybe the digital number plates will then address that issue. But I want to bring Mr. Tusiime in here. The NRM side always says the opposition interrupts their business and it delays work of Parliament. You who is in Parliament every day, do you see them now operate? Do you see the efficiency of Parliament improving by the day?
It depends on what they call efficiency, because if efficiency is pushing bills through Parliament very fast, well, that's it. But we all know that there are several bills that have been passed in Parliament without quorum. There are bills that have been challenged afterwards on technicalities, not limited to quorum, but for other issues, like possibly. So I'm saying it depends on what they think is being effective in processing the work of Parliament. But there is an important issue Honorable Kaaya talked about. What is so difficult in tracing a Ugandan who is missing? Because we almost every Ugandan now these who are not in school, even school going children, have national IDs. Our data has been captured several times. We even have a department, NIRA, that compiles data concerning every Ugandan. What is so difficult to trace and look possibly for the records of these people? First confirm that they are Ugandans, and then you go on to find possibly where they are in records of detention centers, or maybe if they left the country, they went abroad, you check the immigration records. I don't think it should take all this time for government, a serious government, to handle this matter. Possibly, like Professor said, they may be buying time for their own reasons, because the last pronouncement was that all the ministers related to security won't be in the country, so the opposition have to wait. So you see that all that creates suspicion that there is a hidden agenda behind the delay in producing.
Where does that even leave the security of the country? All the ministers are not around.
It depends on also on how they manage the security. Possibly they know how they manage it. I can't know, but it's really disturbing to learn that all the officials in security who are expected to come to Parliament to present a statement will not be in the country for the whole of next week.
Thank you.
Like we all have said, these are political prisoners. Possibly it is politics, but after 3 years, then it becomes something else. If you cannot find your person after 3 years, you can feel the pain.
Thank you. Professor, over time we've seen the NRM operating to its advantage, using the weaknesses in the opposition to take up what they think they should. And case in point is when you talk about the age limit, the removal of the removal of age limit from the Constitution, they pushed out opposition members of Parliament and passed the bill. And we've seen many other bills, like he mentioned, the Petroleum Supply Amendment Bill and many others. How dangerous is it for this country to have a parliament that has only NRM for 2-3 months?
Thank you. What the opposition members of parliament is what some scholars have called the weapons of the weak. When you are weak and you have no alternative, you have to look for alternatives here and there. You know, in my language they say, when you are few and you are meeting the other enemy traditionally, and you feel that you may not scare them away or fight them off, you run to the banana plantation and then you start shaking the banana leaves. And then the other enemy might think
You are many.
not only enemy, that you are dangerous. And so these are weapons of the weak that they are trying. Because what else do they do? You are talking about 3 years. People are detained and issues are being raised. But back at your question, how is the democratic process moving under these circumstances where the alternative views, the alternative policies, the alternative voices are muted? That cannot augur well for state building. The honorable here is talking about human rights. Yes, I look at that angle, but I add on another angle, which is dear to my heart and concerned as an opinion leader, is state formation, state building and nation building. If we leave this nation remaining a geographical entity, a geographic expression, it is highly dangerous. We can easily have a failed state. We need to have national consensus. And one way of demolishing national consensus is having political prisoners. Because some of these prisoners, by the way, majority might also be from one ethnic entity, ethnic group. And how is it perceived that a certain ethnic group is persecuted, is marginalized? Even these members of parliament, the majority of them who are boycotting, might not be geographically spread in the country, you know. So when we perceive that there is a persecution of a certain ethnic or tribal entity, or persecution of a certain political inclination, then that does not augur well for democratic processes, yes, but much more so for nation building. We need to build a nation. And as I said earlier on, defining the future of Uganda is not a monopoly of any one group. It is high time we knew and we learned and accepted that nation building is a collective project. And therefore we should allow the blossoming of different ideas, even if we don't agree with those ideas. And there is a question of dignity. Dismissing somebody, you know, Africans are dignity conscious. Africans, Asians, Middle East people are dignity conscious. So when you continue dismissing somebody, looking at somebody and laughing at somebody, as I see some spokesmen and women of the government of the state laughing, almost dismissing others, it is very, very, very dangerous. We are dignity sensitive. You just look at somebody and you look at him or her as nothing, irrelevant in Uganda. We feel the indignity for you to say, this Ndebesa, he's always talking, he's just talking, let him talk. Let him talk, I'm a Ugandan, a citizen by birth, and I have a stake in this nation. Just like anybody has a stake in this nation, like government has a stake in this nation. So we need to be listened to as dignified Ugandans.
You see, Professor, these are politicians, and one of the weapons of politicians is trying to make the other party look irrelevant and insignificant.
I agree to the extent that you make the other one irrelevant on matters of ideas. Challenge ideas. Let's have a marketplace of ideas. and you can demolish my idea, I don't mind. You can demolish my viewpoint, my policy point of view, but do not look at my life as irrelevant. You are talking about life of somebody who is in prison, who has disappeared. This is not a question of relevance or irrelevance of politicking around. This is a life, this is an issue of the lives of individuals, of people in this country. And we have had this unfortunate incident in the past, by the way. It's not only now. The people disappeared in Obote 1, or were detained, actually, or by the British, and people lost their lives. And people have gone to wars over the issues of lives and dignity. This is not a question of politicking. I agree. Even me, I would be happy if there was politicking around ideas and say, your idea is not relevant, your policy is not irrelevant, your viewpoint is not irrelevant, then the other one, let him defend his viewpoint and whatever. But when it comes to lives now, you are talking about parents, wives, crying. You have seen people crying. Those are emotions. Let the government shape up. Let's not laugh at people talking about the lives of individuals. We are talking about even people getting lost, and they are looked at from the lens of political opponents or whatever. Let's even put aside the political opponents. If a Ugandan is missing, it doesn't matter whether he belongs to opposition or government. A Ugandan is missing and has been reported to government authorities. The government should endeavor to look at these ones and not be dismissed. For 3 years, I think when government came in power, they promised a fundamental change, and one of the fundamental changes was that this business of people disappearing without trace should end. The business of looking at people without dignity should end. The people as human rights being violated, or actually extrajudicial killing, should end. Now, if for some reason there could have been some state operatives who were out of order and get excited and maybe tortured some people and they died, then the government can own up. And then we see how to move forward. Maybe these people can be compensated, those who lost their dear ones, and the people who did that one can be brought to book, and we reconcile and move forward, because some of those mistakes can be made during running the state. But for anybody to continue dismissing people and say, those are opposition, those are posturing, but there is reality, there is record, at least from the point of view of the families of the missing persons, and now admitted even by the Human Rights Commission that they have found out that some people are missing indeed. Then what is being done in the shortest time possible? Is it a priority? Because if you prioritize that one, I don't think it can take more than a month to establish how somebody got lost, where he got lost, where he is, or whether he's dead. And then we move forward. Otherwise, remaining in this debate is not sustainable. People are becoming angry. People are becoming emotional. A parliamentary debate is being derailed, as you have said, which is true, and we are wasting time on the missing persons. Why can't we address it? By the way, there is a whole question of also human rights reports. There have been human rights reports even by other parliaments, not this 11th parliament, which have remained on the shelves of the books. So is the human rights issue irrelevant to nation building in Uganda? My answer is no. It is very, 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 very relevant, and it is the reason why we are told people went to the bush. Now, that's a serious matter.
Honorable, if there is any reason why MPs should boycott the parliamentary sittings, it is the issue of human rights, because it is an issue of life and death. It's an issue that touches the core, the core of our livelihood. So I think, like Professor is saying, it is unsustainable. It is 3 years. Then if we wait, and what are you waiting? I mean, what will you achieve? I mean, if it goes to 4 years, 5 years, what would you tell us? That after 5 years, still people are still missing? I agree with Professor that there's no reason, or there is no way you can ask members of parliament why they are not in parliament if they are actually standing on the issue of human rights.
And conclusively, actually, the death of a person is a great concern. But in my opinion, the greatest concern is the death of a nation, because it concerns all communities. There are people who are laughing at this issue and thinking it is a simple matter. It is the death of a nation state. When people feel they are persecuted and discriminated and excluded, and that they are not part and parcel of defining the future of their country, then you are not building a nation. And the death of a nation, the national question, in my opinion, there are opinions of others here and there, that the fundamental question that we are facing as a post-colonial state, it is not necessarily even the issues of human rights. It's a question of the national question. We have got the national questions in Uganda, which have continued to linger on. When you look at the Munster report, or Uganda Human Relationships Commission report of Munster in 1961, he's talking about these things. We have got the Buganda question. We have got the Bunyoro question. We have the Rwenzori question. We have the Northern question. We have the Karamoja question. We have the religious question. We have got the Bairu Bahima question. You have got the religious question, the Acholi question. We have to address these questions. Now we have the Bararo question. We have to address these questions so that we build a nation state and subsequently democracy and bring order to society. We have how to govern society and we embark on development. Otherwise, if we remain with these questions and laugh them off and leave and marginalize out people out of this defining our future, the national question, the political question, the national question will remain with these different questions lingering on. By saying the question, we are saying that it is something that lingers on, and we need to address these ones before we embark on things. When you talk about a State of the Nation address or whatever, we are already talking about poverty alleviation, national development, GDP, what is it? Reaching the what is this our target?
NDP3, Parish Development
Model, attaining middle income status. Even if we were attaining a middle income status today, without addressing the national question, that is not sustainable. And one way of addressing the national question is respect for divergent views in this country, and being concerned and being sensitive about the dignity of the human being. That you have somebody detained, disappeared, and then you laugh it off. You say, these are politicking. No. Let us all, I'm not politicking in that respect because I belong to none of these political parties, but I'm concerned as a Ugandan of the national question of nation building, and let's not dismiss anybody as irrelevant, as minor, as, those people have disappeared. We don't know them. We don't have a report to report about them. These are Ugandans, and these are human beings, and they have dignity, and we need to address those issues, because talking about even about them in terms of human rights, one can easily dismiss them because political rights are not so much a concern of the people in Uganda. But the question of nation building and human dignity is very critical. Let's not demolish it by failure to address political detainees and the whole question of political detainees in Uganda.
One issue before
Thank you
Professor
so
you
much,
come in.
Professor.
One issue.
Briefly.
What Professor talked about, that there are several reports on human rights which
Wait a minute.
which are still pending, which are in shelves.
I think the 8th or 7th
Yes.
Parliament had that report.
Yes, I would want us to also look at how some entities in government must be held accountable for this, because we have a constitutionally created body, the Uganda Human Rights Commission,
That one is the...
but it comes to Parliament every other main budget cycle. It comes to Parliament. So, to you, Honorable Kaaya, how do these entities still continue to draw money from the consolidated fund when actually they have all these questions on how they operate and what they have produced all through the years? Why can't we hold them on the matter of those reports that have not been processed, have not been responded to, where there are no action plans? Why?
Additionally, we can ask the Honorable here, why are the human rights reports produced by the Uganda Human Rights Commission never discussed in the plenary? Why isn't the Human Rights Committee of Parliament, I think there is a Committee of Parliament,
the Committee of Parliament.
Committee of Parliament, have you tickled them to join you in this struggle for human rights? Or if they are not concerned, why aren't they disbanded? Because there is a Human Rights Committee of Parliament.
And finally, from me, Professor,
briefly, that commission is undertaking a process of investigating these missings and these abductions.
What have they been doing?
They are not, it is not an independent, by the way, it is not an independent committee. For you are talking about an institution, you have forgotten that the institution comes with people. People who are put there by the ruling government and must serve the government. So we are not talking about, we are not looking at them.
Are you saying it is an incompetent committee?
No, it is not independent. And so it is not objective. So it must work for the ruling government. Because even the staff who are placed there must serve the ruling government. So sometimes you may put blame on some people, and it is like they are the ones who put me here, so I must be accountable to them. They can't be accountable to us. And then the Human Rights Committee in Parliament is not among the accountability committees. Actually, those are some of the committees who are advocating that they should come to the accountability side, where the chairpersons and vice chairpersons are opposition members of Parliament. But it has not come to pass. So that is one of it, because it's by the virtue of its work, we're supposed to be checking the comprehension of government in fulfillment of human rights. But if you leave the oppressors to lead the committee, no, they cannot condemn their own.
Yes, thank you, Honorable.
But on that, Professor, I think you'll have a pass on this. Isn't it now upon us to fight and ensure that Parliament, there is balance in that Parliament?
So what are you doing as a media?
I'm saying,
don't bring it back at the intellectuals, but what are you doing as a media?
We are going to address that quite later, but I want Honorable to take us where they are. You are currently out of Parliament.
Yes.
We want to imagine you are not just outside and in the comfort of your homes. Take us to the activities you're undertaking as the opposition outside Parliament. But two, is this a project that you have consensus about among opposition? DP, FDC, UPC, NUP. Are you in agreement about all the activities you're undertaking as the opposition?
And some independent who are oppositional.
Yes, opposition leaders.
Yes, we are in agreement with what we are undertaking, but obviously the whole nation knows that there are some individuals who have decided to put one leg in NRM and the other leg in opposition, but we are trying to entice them to decide the best position. If they cannot stand with us, then let them go to NRM. So the whole country knows that there are those individuals. And but the advocacy we are following up with is really very important. And usually, when the speaker comes to parliament, he's like, where are the members? You people, where are you? You are not here. You are not in the constituency. Where are you? We would like to inform the public that we are following up with all the committee work. We agreed that we remain with the execution of committee work. For example, the recently passed amendment bill for the petroleum supply bill, we did all that we could to save the country, but it could not be accepted.
But
And-
moderator, can I ask the honorable here?
Please.
Does it mean even members of in the NRM, the ruling party, there are no members there who are concerned about human rights issues and nation building? Does
Yeah,
it mean that when anybody goes there,
And maybe to expand that point for Professor, you as opposition, have you failed to get to the NRM and convince a section of it to join you in this struggle?
in different issues, there are some people who join us. And I would like to take this opportunity
Human
to thank.
rights.
Yes, they agree with us. And they are like, please, move on, we support you.
but they fear
Outside-
come out?
No, they cannot come out. They cannot come out. But in the recent Petroleum Supplement Act, we stood with some NRMs, and they also signed the committee report. The committee report that was the majority report. In ours, it had become
Very
a
unfortunate
minority
on the
report.
11th Parliament.
It had become a minority report. You can't imagine. We were very happy that this time round. So we agree with some members of NRM on some issues. So issue based, we keep on, taking people's hearts based on their areas of representation. Not all problems can really be pressing in their respective.
We would expect as members of parliament, you can sit one-on-one with this individual and reason out and be able to convince them to
That
join.
is what we do on a daily basis.
No.
But it is upon an individual. What you were suggesting is what they are also suggesting, that can't you sit with Kaya Christine on a daily basis and tell her to support
By
Mwalimu Museveni?
partisanship, they call it in parliamentary language.
So yeah,
Is
yeah.
by
So that's
partisanship lost in
as you
Uganda?
do your work, they are also doing their work. So sometimes we remain. You
No,
fail to
Honorable-
convince, they fail to convince.
Honorable and Professor, that's what I was trying to put across. That we have, how can we get a balance in that
By
parliament?
partisanship.
Exactly.
On,
that we
on
have,
critical issues like
yes,
nation building
that we
and human
have
dignity.
a good number of opposition and a good number of NRM on a critical matter like human
We
rights.
get consensus.
Yes, and they get consensus. Even if they are NRM, we see that at this time when they say we are boycotting, we also see NRM members also walking out of the what? Of the house.
That is it.
That is the problem. And Honorable Kaya talked about it, that they have their support, they tell them they support them, but when time comes either to vote on a particular matter, on a critical matter, they stay back. You get what I'm saying? So there is a big problem, one, of being insecure in politics, in a political position. Because somebody is in parliament and he or she knows that if he stands on a certain matter, he stands up against a certain matter that maybe is not is supported by either the president,
He will be
he
punished.
will be punished
There are
and he may
political
lose his
consequences.
office or
There are political
constituency.
consequences.
Yes.
It is
So
not me.
I'm saying, how can we, Professor, one, strike a balance even during elections, that we have many people, we avoid a house that is dominated by only one side.
But you see,
And
when
again,
you say individuals are in fear of losing that position, then it indicates a failure of statesmanship in this country. Professor,
exactly.
is that a true reflection of the peoples of Uganda? We cannot stand for things that are for the betterment of this country.
Let me point out this challenge, which is somehow philosophical, is that Ugandan political class is not inspired and motivated by values. They are motivated by interests,
Yeah.
by eating, by the tomb, by the politics of the stomach. Otherwise, if you stand on social justice or human rights issues, it does not matter which side you belong to on the political divide. that you cannot stand for human dignity if you are inspired and motivated by the values that you stand for. If you ask most of these MPs on both sides that what motivates you, they cannot easily tell you what really motivated them. So what is lacking in Uganda, not only in Parliament, even outside Parliament, is that we have not evolved the values that are the compass that guides us. Let me broaden it to the African continent, not only Uganda. Everybody is concerned about the lives in the Middle East between the Palestinians and the Israelis. The global world. There are those who support Israelis, there are those who support Palestinians. It doesn't matter where you belong. And they are demonstrating, they are concerned. You look at Africa, apart from South Africa, the rest of us are sleeping. There is a problem. I think there is a fundamental problem in Africa. The rest of us are sleeping, completely sleeping. When there are problems of global governance, like in WTO, the World Trade Organization, where the rules, the global rules, are oppressing and marginalizing Africa, Africans are not concerned. There is a time when the Director General of the WTO came to Uganda. And people didn't mind. They didn't go to the airport to meet him. He actually expected demonstrations at Entebbe airport. He didn't.
We don't care.
As a small group of NGOs, we met him at the conference center. Actually, we put it to him that you look at Ugandans. We are actually an NGO. People did not meet you here, even at the airport, to express their views and the concern that Africa is marginalized. Whereas in Seattle, in USA, in Mexico, in Cancun, in South Korea, there is somebody who even committed suicide over the question of WTO rules. Here, we are not concerned. We are not concerned about what is happening in Israel or Palestine. We are just in our social media, small things. So that's why we, in Africa, the post-colonial state in Africa, that's why Africa is lagging behind, because we have no motivation by values of concern, of human dignity, of human rights. Now, human dignity of people is violated. People are just saying, oh, these MPs are boycotting. You know, why aren't they going to Parliament? You know, they are not concerned. The media is not concerned. The intellectual class is not concerned. Citizens on the streets are not concerned. The country is getting torn. You know,
but Professor,
there is a problem.
Professor, you ignore one important issue.
Thank you, please.
It's because we are a post-colonial state. Is it why we are divided? Is it because we are not a nation state? What is wrong?
Thank you. We are going to cut it short. We're heading into a very short break. Thank you for keeping it the focus on Parliament on Civic Space TV. It's candid, it's factual, it has a lot of information for you. We're going to a short break and we shall return.
Digital rights are those human rights and legal rights that allow individuals to access, use, create and publish digital media, or to access and use computers, other electronic devices and telecommunication networks. Digital rights include a right to freedom of expression, information and communication through technology, a right to privacy and data protection, a right to credit for personal works, a right to universal and equal digital access, a right to identity, a right to anonymity, a right to be forgotten, and a right for protection of minors, among others. The state's digital rights are frequently violated through various unfair actions, for example, blockage of websites and social networks, theft of credentials, unauthorized use of people's data for personal gain, privacy intrusion, online censorship, arrests and intimidation of online users, internet blockages, and the proliferation of laws and regulations that undermine the potential of technology to drive social, economic, and political development worldwide. It is hence every citizen's responsibility to respect rights of other digital users and to speak out or report to the responsible parties when one's rights are violated.
Welcome back from that short break. I am Philip Muliisa and this is Focus on Parliament on Civic Space TV. We are looking at the boycott of plenary by members of the opposition in the Ugandan Parliament, and we are discussing what is the impact it is creating on the political scene of this country. To discuss that is Professor Ndebesa, Honorable Christine Kaaya, and Mr. Tusiime. who are still with us here today. And in this second and last segment of this show, this week, the Speaker of Parliament came with, can I call it intimidation, or perhaps a scare to opposition members of Parliament, saying he's going to invoke the rules of procedure. If you've missed plenary for 15 sittings, you will cease being a member of Parliament. And I want to start with you, Honorable. How did you receive this information?
No, the information is right, actually, for members who have missed. There are very many members, including ministers, who have missed plenary. The likes of Kahindo Tafire, who don't attend Parliament.
Are you people scared?
No, for that message was not to us, opposition members, because for us, we have been relating well. They know why we are out. We have been sharing the reasons why we are out. And when we decide to go back to Parliament, we are always inside Parliament. The message goes to those others. There are very many others who have been missing without the Speaker's notice. So her notice is necessary to some of the people, some of the members of Parliament, but not opposition, because for us, our reasons are valid. And I would like also to inform the public that currently Parliament is not balanced. You know, there are some people who want discussions that have gone through opposition and the ruling government. Currently, Parliament is not balanced, and if you'd like your issue or Parliament to debate on any issue, just get to know that the views to be presented in there are one-sided, which is not democratic, by the way. And so we try as much as possible to influence the committees to do their work. And remember, when we come to plenary, in case you took part in the committee work, you are not actually welcome to present any issue. So especially if the issue is related to the committee work. So in other words, we are doing our work. We have not run away from Parliament. And so Speaker's message is not to us, but it is to those other people whom we don't see anywhere. There is even provision for Zoom, and still those people are not there. And they did not place any notice as to why they are missing Parliament. And so far, 15 consecutive sitting.
Honorable Speaker Anita Mongo was specific. Opposition members of Parliament are boycotting sitting.
Yeah, I think it is not only opposition. She was talking to people who miss. Maybe she had forgotten that for us we gave a notice. That is when she was undergoing her maternity business. But we put Parliament on notice as to why we are actually, they don't want us inside, because if they wanted us inside, what we're requesting is as simple as I don't know. Very simple. But we also want some form of accountability in terms of responses to missing persons. Not only missing persons, some people are tried in military courts when they are civilians. That one also pains us. We are looking at the intimidations of Muslims when a Muslim has committed an offense. Take Ibrahim as Ibrahim. Why do you say, you Muslims? No, that is actually putting them down as a cleric. And then we are also looking at the fishing community. There are a lot of human rights violations in the fishing communities. The act came out clearly to chase away military people from the water ecosystems. And there are good directions as to how people should fish. But we continue to see the army infringing on the rights of the fishing community. But also, there are people who are detained without serious reasons, because we feel 3 years really is enough for us to know why somebody is is detained or is imprisoned. And then the shrinking civic space. So this comes to you, media people. We have reliably been informed that you sometimes even get issues from Parliament, from communities, from wherever, and when you bring them to your editors, They are put in dustbins.
You see, Honorable, on that exact issue, I must inform you that there are more media people in prisons and places that are not known than their members of parliament and so on. But I want to question you, as members of parliament, you have the power to visit every prison in this country, every police station, every military installation in this country. Have you tried that option to find out whether these people are actually there?
Yeah, we have traversed all the detention areas. Apart from, there are very many detention areas, by the way, where we're not accepted to go to see what is happening there. Others, we even don't know them. Because when you listen to some of the stories of these people who escaped, they will tell you that out of probably 10 areas they visited, it was not visiting. 10 areas where they were taken, they can only try to remember one area, the one known area.
Yeah.
Meaning that the 9 are not known to any Ugandan, and they also don't know those places. And so there are a lot of detention.
They are safe spaces.
Yeah, they are sacred.
They
are blindfolded.
They are
no, the places are also safe places in courts.
No, you know, calling them safe is really, because nobody is there safely. Nobody leaves those places safely. They come back with a lot of challenges, bruises on their bodies. And so there are a lot of detention places. Very many, over 80% of detention places are not known to Ugandans.
Thank you. I want to bring in Mr. Tusiime-Uganda. I think you want to respond to something, but also when the speaker says she wants to expel opposition members of parliament from the House, how do the NRMs receive this? These are their colleagues, these are fellow members of parliament. How do they receive it, you who is on ground?
No, I think we alluded to that particular matter before in this particular conversation. We have members of parliament, especially on the side of NRM, who are not, who find no common interest with their fellow colleagues on the opposition, and they legislate in fear. They transact their business in fear that they may lose their constituencies if they go against what the authorities really stand for. And that is why we said we would be happy if a critical matter like this one of human rights comes up in parliament, and when a boycott is called, we see even members on the side of NRM also accompanying their fellows in opposition walk out. We have not seen this, and I think it is hypocritical.
You know, I would want to ask, in the earlier parliaments, 6, 5th, you could see members of parliament from both sides trying to agree on certain issues.
By partisanship.
By partisanship. What happened?
No, it is about the interests Professor Muliisa talked about. Now we have leaders, not only in parliament, we have leaders in positions who are only looking at what they get after the end of the month, their salaries, their benefits and privileges. They don't care about the service or the mandate for which their officers were put in place. That is the problem. But I also agree with Honorable Kaaya that there is a big problem. We have in this country what they call safe houses that are not known to most of us, and most
see,
Ugandans.
Mr. Apollo, you're a journalist.
I was in the Committee of Human Rights.
Please.
Yes, I was in the Committee of Human Rights in 2018. People came in and they were witnesses during the time when there were allegations of safe houses in Chengera, one in Chengera and others in Kalangala. I accompanied the Committee of Human Rights to Chengera, where they had a place they had identified as a safe house, and the members of parliament were almost roughed up. there were soldiers guarding that place. I was there. So we indeed, like she said, there may be places we don't know where these people are being kept. But like we said, or like Professor said, this is not sustainable. You cannot keep these people, keep people incommunicado for all this time.
I mean, what could be the biggest fear of this government in failing to put out these people? If you're government and you have people and you think they are criminals, what would the government fear in putting them out to the public?
Bringing them out, bringing them out. Maybe they may fear. They may fear, but anyway, there is no image protect at this point.
No, but this is a season of intimidation.
No,
it is just a season of intimidation. Once some people take long in detention, then others fear to support opposition because they will also be.
Or you're looking at what possibly they get.
That is it.
What I want to understand, and perhaps Honorable can come in at that one. Do you in the opposition, as you boycott sittings, think these people are actually with government?
No, obviously, we have a lot of answers for that question.
Or theories.
Or theories. Actually, we are in possibilities, which possibilities have no background. But you know, we are aware that if they don't have them, then they died a long time ago. Or they were fled to some places we don't know. So we think that there are three options, three answers to your question. But what I need to tell the country is that, you know, this overstaying power must bring in actions to make us very intimidated to do anything. So if you see that your colleague is detained for 3 years, you're like, oh my goodness, let me not, even if I don't support this government, let me just keep quiet. So intimidation is a serious tool these days in the politics of Uganda to threaten more supporters to the cause, to what Ugandans need. And these days you are even asked, why are you following up? Yes, we know what you are following is right, but didn't you have breakfast? Didn't you have lunch? Aren't you going to have supper? Then why mind? Do you think you are going to solve Uganda's problems? So many people have understood that the country is no longer at peace. And now what do we do if we cannot pay all the people to talk like some individuals you know? If we cannot pay all the people, what else can we do to win these hearts? I remember in my campaigns, they would go to somebody's place early in the morning. By 6 a.m., the soldiers in the courtyard, and they are asking you two questions. Two options. They're giving you two options. You either support Kaaya or you die. So you can choose out of the two.
Honorable, that's a serious allegation.
Yes, that is how it was. So, and when you look at the day-to-day life of Ugandans currently, that is the day-to-day business and project. So what do we do to ensure that this Kaaya stops supporting this side? No, she either stays alive or supports us. So the two options are already fake. And I was hearing Professor talk that why can't we mind about values, issues, and not this, politics. Actually, this is the time for not minding about political governance. Political parties and their governance, looking at offices that this one has overstayed in an office, they removed him long time ago, I need my space. That is, these days, nonsense. We have issues that have to look at up to. Whether you work you work on the tree, you work on the what, provided you on the issues that benefit the country, people will support you. You are the one who will speak and people listen, whether you have a physical office or not. So this is not time for organizing our political parties. No. What have they? They have already encroached on the parties, and all parties look at DP. It has two. It is cut into two. We know these ones belong here, the others belong here. Look at what is happening in FDC. So let's follow up with issues. Many MPs have ambitions why they join. We have ambitions. But when we reach inside there, those are the states that begin. Do you want to retain this post? Yes. Okay. Why can't you sign on this bill or this
Who
report?
threatens you?
The system.
And who is the system?
You don't know the system, the head of the system.
I wanted to
The
ask
head of the
Professor.
system, the head of the state, who works through the different institutions. Who works through the different institutions? You ask for an institution to present a report and accountability for something, and you just say, keep quiet. What happened to the digitalized number plates? The committee comes up with a report, a good one. And what then happens? Give up with that report. We shall get back to you later. And so that is how the system is working.
Thank you so much, Honorable. I want to engage Professor on this one. When the Speaker says she will expel opposition members of Parliament from the House, first, is that even precedented anywhere on this continent of the world? But two, where does it leave Parliament itself, but also the politics of this country?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, and the listeners out there. How will expelling members of opposition from Parliament address the national question? I mean, if you wake up and you say they have not attended the last 15 sittings, therefore they are hereby expelled, how is that one resolving the national question and the many questions in Uganda? How is it resolving the Buganda question, the Bunyoro question, the Rwenzori question, the Kasese question, the Northern question, the military question, the political question, the religious question? How does that resolve the tribal question in Uganda? To me, we should be addressing issues of nation building, not politicking about expelling members of opposition, threatening here and there. How will expelling a few members of Parliament from Parliament resolve the national question? Does the Speaker address that issue? Is the Speaker concerned about Uganda as a nation state, which is not yet a nation state, and starts threatening here and there? Why not address why the members of opposition are out of Parliament? You asked the question, is it precedented? In one way or the other, it is precedented. But let me give you an example of Ethiopia. Ethiopia, until recently, had a president called Zenawi. He had a rule. He was one of the new breed of African leaders, as Clinton defined them, in Africa, and had been in power for 30 years. And unfortunately, he died.
Meles
Zenawi, he died. At the time he died, actually, the opposition members of Parliament had been made useless. And the Parliament was full of the party, is it a TPD, TPL or something like that. Yeah? And then Zenawi died at a time when Parliament was 100% government, revolutionary government, revolutionary party in the government. This is not long ago. Yeah? As we talk, that party is dissolved, is not there. The members of that party thought that they were Bari Bakari. The party is hereby dissolved. When they put in another leader after the unfortunate death of Zenawi, the other entitlement people made it impossible for him to govern. After, I think, about 15 months, he threw in his towel and said, me, I cannot govern this system. The system which had expelled all members of Parliament, and most of them were in the prison. I mean, the opposition. Others were in exile. So another one came in. In a very short time, the system now, the people who were the owners of the system in Ethiopia, made it impossible for him to govern. And what did he do? He disagreed with them. They fought him. They went into cocooning in one province. He fought them. He found them there. They fought. And he dissolved the party and started another party. Now, this party ya kabiri under Zenawe has disappeared. The opposition who were looked at as useless, I don't know where they are. But is the Ethiopian nation state together now? My answer is no. It is one of the challenges of Ethiopia today, which was, by the way, economically developing. The GDP growth in Ethiopia had surpassed one figure. It was in two figures, 11%. I don't know where they are now as we talk. Because they failed to have a political consensus in a politically divided Ethiopia. And there they are. Is it a mark of progress in Ethiopia that one group took it up to themselves to define the future of Ethiopia? And when the individual who was leading that group dies, unfortunately, he dies together with his party, and the country also disintegrates more or less. So, can't we learn lessons from, say, Ethiopia and say, okay, now that we have the hindsight of such a scenarios, let's have political consensus in Uganda and compete, allow space for competition. If people, the honorable Kayas here, don't have ideas, you just demolish them and they look foolish. Just demolish them. But don't stop them from speaking. Don't stop them from assembling, from associating, and don't arrest their supporters. Don't intimidate their supporters. Demolish them at the level of ideas and policies. If they commit a crime against the laws of Uganda and they violate certain laws, you arrest them, arraign them before the courts of law, and imprison them. I don't know why. There is no country that cannot imprison people just because they are politicians or whatever, as long as you have committed an offense. But now arresting some people, and then they disappear, and then you just laugh it off and they say, those are just politicking, they are just playing to the gallery. But there are people who have got lost. They are human beings. They have dignity. They have families. They have communities. They have lives to live also. So, finally, again, going back to the question of what happens when members of the opposition who have boycotted are expelled from parliament. It is not impossible. It can be done. Many things have been done in Uganda. But I, as Ndebesa, I ask the question, how does expelling members of parliament from parliament resolve the national question? We have a national question. We have many national questions. How do we resolve them? By posturing as people with authority. You have authority today, but tomorrow you may not have that authority. You can use force the way Anita, not Anita Mong, the other Anita, Honorable Anita, this one from Moyo. What did she say? The Minister of Evelyn Anita. Say, Tulina Maje. Hey, did I mean have a Maje? Did Ndebesa have a Maje? The issue is not the Maje. The issue is putting in place a political order. Let's craft methods and ways of having political order in Uganda. Let's have an orderly society in Uganda. Let's have a nation state in Uganda. And then everything else will be added onto it. But continuing to politic and be selfish and have entitlements and exclude people and say you can only define the future. There is no anybody else who can define the future or can participate in defining the future, because I don't think these opposition people have a monopoly over how to define the future of Uganda. They don't. But neither is the ruling government have the monopoly, nor are the members of the political class having the monopoly. You, him, and myself should be brought on board. There should be space for us to participate in defining the future of Uganda. The British came here and they wanted to define the future of Uganda, but finally in 62 we got rid of them. UPC and the KY thought they had the monopoly of defining the future for Uganda. In 66 they fought each other, and they were laughing at DP. What happened? In 67 we had a new system where UPC wanted to define the future of Uganda. In 71 they were expelled by Idi Amin. Idi Amin said he had all the ideas in Uganda. In 79, where did he go? I saw him running. I was in Tororo College in secondary school. I had the plane from Soroti Air taking him to Libya. And he thought he had the monopoly of ideas. And then the different Uganda National Liberation Front people came. They thought they had a monopoly. Then Obote too came. They thought they had a monopoly. Now the current NRM is saying it has a monopoly. Excuse me, can we have a break? Can we have a break and have systems that are inclusive, that allow space? Of course, I'm not saying that those in government should not have confidence in their policies and ideas. That's good. Let them demolish the opposition. Let them demolish the ideas of these fellas. The policy options they have, that's okay. But do not stop them from going forward and then arresting them incognito. Who doesn't know that they are drones? These drones created a situation of insecurity in this country. I don't think that is a way to secure the country. Just immediately after those incidents of 2019, 2021 happened, there were some journalists who were coming to interview me in my residence. But I was guiding them and they were failing to get where the residence is. And they were in these drones, that vehicle, which looks like a drone. And people ran away from them. When I rang them, I said, you ask any people there at the junction. They said, everybody has run away from us. I said, now, is that where we have reached, that people now fear to see a certain vehicle and run away? Then at another time, they also came to interview me, another group with a certain vehicle. And so, my neighbors, I had one of my neighbors ringing, say, what is happening? I said, no, there is no problem. I continued talking with the journalist, and all of a sudden I saw her coming and saying, hey, what are they doing with you here now? I said, there is no problem. I'm talking to these journalists. They are asking me some questions. He said, oh, I thought this was a drone coming to take you also. So now creating that atmosphere as if it is during Idi Amin days or Pandaga days, those should be bygone days. And it is not too late. It is not too late. We need to have sober politics, consensus politics. Finally, I want to say that in case there were some errant security officers who may have grabbed one of these boys or two and actually killed them, let government own up and identify those people who may have killed them. If they are dead, I'm not sure about that. And then hold them accountable and pay reparations to the families of those people, if that is the case. If that is not the case, and those people are held incognito anywhere in a safe place or anywhere in any state facility, let them be released even just unconditionally, and let them drop them on the way and they go home. And we have some sanity in Parliament and in the nation, and we build for the future, as the Makerere motto says. Otherwise, it is not sustainable to continue laughing at people who have lost their relatives or who have missing relatives. They may not have lost them. They may just be missing. Don't laugh at them. Again, I want to add on that if the people who have been suspected to be terrorists, suspected also because the courts have not pronounced them one way or the other, are produced in court in 1 week, in 2 weeks, why can't you produce this boy who put on a red cape? This gentleman here is putting on a red shirt. Should he be detained for 3 years because he's putting on a red shirt? What's wrong with putting on a red shirt? Yours also is tending to be red. Are you going to disappear? No. I don't think that in the 21st century and in the modern Uganda, we should have people who are missing without trace. Government has a capacity, security forces have the capacity to trace somebody, whether he belongs to the opposition or not, whether he belongs to government or not, whether he was even picked by security forces allegedly or not. Even if these fellows were not picked by drones and security operatives, anybody, if he misses, even is picked by a kidnapper, a civilian kidnapper, a competitor at the place of business or whatever, it is the onus is on the state, which is supposed to ensure our security, to trace that person one way or the other. I don't see even this argument. It is actually a misplaced argument to say, no, we didn't pick them, and therefore we have no obligation to look for them. Even if they were not picked by government, the state has the responsibility to look for the missing person, whether he was allegedly picked by government or not by government. It is failure on part of the state not to identify a missing person, or at least give a report as to how that person missed and what is being done and what has been done. Because the last time I heard the report in Parliament, the Minister for Security was simply saying, I have nothing useful to add on. Yeah, I have finished. Period.
Thank you, Professor. I want to engage Honorable. When you look at what Professor is saying, it is really a shabby image of the country. The Honorable Norbert Mao, who is the Minister of Justice, has been singing national dialogue and national reconciliation. Are you people from the opposition available for national dialogue and national reconciliation?
Reconciliation, you know what it is like putting new wine in an old sack or an old bottle. And no, we need to rethink the country afresh. This is our turn. What has failed has failed. We cannot, at this moment in time, it is very difficult to change people's minds, especially those who feel that, no, it is time for dictatorship. They are feeding.
No, we have had dictatorship since independence.
Yes.
Actually, since colonial times. So has it helped the national question?
No, it has not. It has not.
And that is why we talk about
So,
dialogue.
No,
Should we sit
dialogue
down
for
as
what?
Ugandans and agree on how we move forward? Many mistakes have happened. Professor mentioned 1960. He mentioned 66 KY fighting with UPC. He mentioned 71, 79, 86. People have fought and fought and fought. Is it time to sit down and talk as Ugandans and forge a better way
Who
for our
is
country?
requesting for that dialogue? And where are you? So it has to be the right people.
And who are those right
And the
people?
right time. And the right issues. So for example, the person you're quoting, he is wrongly placed. He has decided to sleep
Honorable
with
Norbert
the...
Mao?
Yes.
He's a Minister of Justice.
He has decided to sleep with the regime. Which regime is prosecuting us. So if, for example, Professor would come up and say, please, I'm here. But from what he has already shared, people now think about him as the opposition. You see, because whatever you raise, is that promoting this regime? Is it helping the sitting president to remain in power? The moment your submissions are not towards that, then you're opposition. Whether you are objective, whether something is taking us ahead, whether it is building a nation, the moment it is not the other direction, then you're opposition.
And it is that point. When we talk dialogue, we mean NRM accepts some mistakes have happened, opposition accepts some mistakes have happened, the religious people accept that some mistakes, there's educational institutions, every Ugandan, and we agree to sit down using different fora at different levels, talk about what works best for this country, agree and start afresh as a country.
And that would be the best. And we have tried to test some of those proposals. For example, by us going out, what are we demanding? We are demanding for a report, giving us details of our missing people, and then committing on how to prevent this to occur again.
To occur again.
We want commitment. So we have been testing this government in those small things. When we request, for example, an accountability of our missing people. Those are some of the actions that would lead us to the other bigger proportions. I mean, discussions. So if at the starting point, people are not cooperative, because we want to listen to look at the report. Remember on independence when we had planned to pray, like the day, like tomorrow, we would convene for prayers. But what happened to us on independence cannot allow us to convene any other prayers again, because we shall have more victims. So we are just beginning with something small that probably we made a mistake as opposition. All prayers, even the prayers we recite in public, I think we need to first go to Rubaga, pray, and then come back to plenary, because we thought prayers can be convened in any place. But now we need to look at such a report, look at our mistakes as opposition. Did we commit any mistake as we planned for this? Okay, I think that was a mistake. Okay, now what are you committing? They also tell us, I think we manhandled you, or we tortured your people. I think it was not good. But next time, we need to plan like this and this. So there are a lot of actions
but you see,
that are towards your proposal.
The president has invited you to iPod and you didn't show up. He wanted you to talk these things through.
No, that is not the best place. That is what I was telling you, that this is like a mediation. You have heard about the mediations between conflicting countries. And what happens? You have to look for a neutral area. You have to look for neutral people who are objective, and the timing as well. So iPod is not a right place really to express yourself and to express the challenges of human rights. The iPod is a place of, exalting somebody. The moment you differ from exaltation, then you may even be asked why you came to attend such meetings. So for us as a NUP, we cannot now abide by such regulations, So in mediation, in streamlining our nation, we need to come up with the right people, the right place, the right issues. If currently what people call the right issue is, first of all, to put certain issues, certain syllabus, provided Mr. Museveni is the president, now you can say the rest of the things. That is already an imbalanced position.
Do you think we need a Truth and Reconciliation Commission in this country?
Yes, I think we need. But with the current leadership, it is impossible.
Thank you. Mr. Tusiime, Truth, Reconciliation, National Dialogue. I know very many journalists have been beaten, arrested, equipment destroyed, and that's painful for a journalist.
Ugandans have never rejected the path for dialogue. And I'm very sure Honorable Kaaya here and his and her colleagues must have never rejected dialogue. But the question has always been, who are we dialoguing with, and how and on what matters are we going to dialogue about? The proposal for national dialogue is not new. Professor Ndebesa knows it, that there was a time, and I think it was 2016, when Interreligious Council of Uganda came up with this proposal of dialogue. Then it culminated into the Citizens Compact, launched at Africana. I was there. And people like Walalo Otunu also was a champion of dialogue. They talked about dialogue, they pushed for dialogue and truth and reconciliation. But I think President Museveni is not ready for a dialogue. And Professor, we can trace President Museveni's rise to power. It has never been through dialogue. Even in 1985, in the Nairobi peace talks called peace jokes, he walked out. So I'm trying to say
briefly, because we are held up by time. What's the way forward? Briefly, in a minute.
The way forward is we cannot stop pushing for dialogue, because it is the only way. Truth and reconciliation. Honorable Norbert Mao is talking about the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. But the problem, like I said, all these issues have been raised before, but they have always fell on deaf ears. So we cannot stop. We'll keep pushing. Like I said, Ugandans are ready for dialogue. But then we should also ask and tell our leaders to also not like Professor Ndebesa said, reflect on the history of feeling big. They feel that nothing can happen now. When they are in power, when they have authority, everyone feels they are big. You talked about the issue of the speaker threatening the opposition that they will be thrown out. It is a wide threat. It can't work. If you don't address the issues they're talking about, even if you throw them out, you never know the people who will come. They may again also raise the same issue. So I think we have to think of the future of our country. Then we agree that every region has to reconcile with, every Ugandan has a reason to reconcile with another.
Thank you so much, Honorable. In a minute,
in a minute, I don't know what to say in a minute, but I would like to thank the viewers and listeners. But I would like to remind our people in Bukomero, where I come from, that Bukomero Junior will be celebrating 100 years tomorrow on 18th November 2023, and the ruling government has not compensated institutions that fell prey to the war. The school was ravaged, and we are celebrating 100 years, and we have not seen the country come through. But we are pushing on. We are pushing on. God is with us. We are pushing on. We know that we have not achieved much in this year, but let that one not drail us back. We have to continue pushing for the human rights of Ugandans, because we feel somebody's human rights fulfilled improves the livelihood as well.
Thank you so much. Professor.
Thank you. I want to conclude by resorting back to the question you have been asking of expelling some members of parliament from parliament because they have boycotted the 15 sittings, as it were. I want to send this message, if it can reach to her, to the Speaker of Parliament among, that expelling these members of parliament out of parliament, how will it restore the glory, let me be personal, the glory of Teso? Teso region, Teso, in 1930 had overtaken Buganda in cotton production. That's the history. Some of the most learned people by 1970 in Uganda were Iteso. Some of the best schools I studied from Eastern Uganda, my secondary, I know were in Teso. How will expelling Honorable Kaaya here from parliament restore the economic glory of Teso? So finally, I think the solution to Uganda now, as of now, although in future could be from any other, should come from the NRM political class, whether they are in parliament or outside parliament, whether they are ministers or not ministers or secretariat or whatever, is to rethink the political direction this country is taking and appreciate that defining the future for Uganda is a joint project, is not a monopoly. Monopolies have happened since colonial times. They have not taken us very far. So the panacea, the antidote to these challenges is for the NRM political class to rethink the future of Uganda, which should be built on the norms and the principles of inclusivity with respect for the dignity of every Ugandan, regardless of his class. Otherwise, monopoly of power can solve a problem, but it's not sustainable. And I think as our political leaders, as our political class, let them rethink the development of this country, and we can reform this country through the NRM, but not this business of laughing, dismissing the opposition as irrelevant, as stupid, as fools, as idiots. And we think we are building a nation. The most important challenge Uganda and all post-colonial Africa faces is the national question. And the national question will not be addressed in a partisan manner. It will be addressed in a bipartisan manner.
Thank you so much, Professor, and thank you for joining us today for the show. Thank you so much, Honorable Christine, for joining us today. Thank you so much, Mr. Apollo Tusiime, for joining us today. And thank you so much, our viewer out there, for keeping with us all this time. Thank you so much. Remember, this is made possible by the Center for Constitutional Governance. We appreciate the effort you put in to make sure civic information is put out to the public of Uganda. I am Philip Muliisa. Big thanks to the people behind the cameras and in the technical department, Paul, Rashid, and the rest of the crew. Thank you so much. It is Focus on Parliament. See you next time.